few questions of President, Dr. David Cook. So please go ahead with your questions.
Fire away.
Was there ever a moment when you were walking around here as a student you thought you might be back as president?
No. No, that was a long time ago when I was a student here, and I think I was trying to figure it all out, but it's quite an honor to be back here now thinking about how far I've come and how far the university has come. But I can't tell you that it ever crossed my mind back in those days.
Vanessa Miller with the Gazette. I was just curious how, like what your application process was like. Did you find the job, or did you see it pop up, or did someone reach out to you, or how did you sort of decide?
Yeah, so for presidential searches, there's often a search committee, which was the case here, and I believe there were people who, I don't know who they are, but had nominated me and given them my name, which then in turn had them reach out and told me about the position that was open, and that's pretty common for how these work. So.
Yeah, and did you know that you wanted to apply right away, or did you have to think about it a little bit?
You know, you're going to hear me say this a lot, but Ames is home, Iowa State is home. When the job opened up, it immediately was something that I was very interested in, and so if I had to think about it, I didn't have to think about it for very long.
What makes you the perfect candidate for this, given your history here, hometown guy, and what do you want to see for the future of this university?
Yeah, you know, I don't know if I'm the perfect candidate for pretty much anything, to be candid with you, but there are a lot of things that resonate for me personally, and I think that also have great benefit to the institution. And you've heard, you know, being from here, growing up here, understanding the community to some extent, and then, you know, leaving and looking back at the state of Iowa. I feel like the state of Iowa is the education state, being taken a lot of pride in what we do here at Iowa State, but just statewide, especially what Iowa State does with its land grant and extension mission, is something that, you know, I really have a strong affinity for. My background is going off to the University of Kansas, where I spent a number of years there. I did a lot of work across the state, a lot of access to healthcare, health equity kind of work that really resonates with that land grant mission. And then, of course, I've been the the president of a land grant institution at North Dakota State University. I am the president here for the last few years, and the missions are very same. It's really kind of in my DNA to have a deep love for that kind of work, and I see how it makes a difference in a state. I see how it provides access to healthcare, how it makes a difference with engineering and agriculture and the true economic opportunities in a state. All of those things are incredibly important. Leaning into, again, ag engineering, but I love the access mission to education, which takes us all the way back to 1862, when not everybody could have the ability to go to college, and you can tell it's in the DNA here that it's a very student-centered institution. They say it, but I can tell you it just resonates when you're on campus. And then the entrepreneurial, innovative nature of the institution is something else that I just have a real passion for. And so I think a lot of things are aligning here. I'm very fortunate to be here and incredibly excited about the future.
So your official start date is until March 1st. What will you be doing in the coming months to prepare to officially come to campus?
Yeah, so a little bit of that is just making sure, you know, where I'm at now. I want to make sure that everything there transition-wise works very well. I've done this before, where I transitioned from one institution to another, and I think it's really important to be engaged, have, there'll be Zoom calls, probably a couple of trips. My priorities will be understanding the finances are really important. Higher ed financing is complicated, it's different in every state, and it's imperative that a leader really understands how the finances work, so that'll be a priority for sure. We're starting the legislative process here in January. I'll kind of follow a couple months later, but nonetheless, our biggest funder is the state legislature, our biggest partner and collaborator, and so really doing my best to understand the relationship, how that whole process works, and frankly, what the legislature wants to see from the institution. So those are probably two of the biggest priorities, and then for me, it's going to be a lot of outreach, a lot of listening, a lot of engagement. Love spending time at field days across the state in the summer, love getting out across campus, talking to faculty and staff, and probably starting with talking with students to see how they're doing and what they'd like to see in the new president, but just in the institution.
How much of a priority when you think about the financials is athletics to your vision of how a university should function?
Yeah, so athletics is incredibly important to an institution. They in many ways, there are a lot of different things that could be perceived as the front porch of an institution, but certainly athletics are right there front and center. They help with reputation, they help with brand, they help with enrollment of students, giving them all a great opportunity to feel deep pride in the institution. So I come from, North Dakota State University has a very strong pride in athletics, and I've done that work at the University of Kansas as well. So I would tell you that it's a critical component of a president's role, and Iowa State athletics here is going to be a real priority for me.
During your presidency in North Dakota, what were some of the lessons that you learned during that process that you hope to bring to Iowa State?
Well, a lot of lessons. I think one of the advantages I do have is as a sitting president, you learn a lot through that, and that helps prepare you for the next step. At NDSU, I feel like a lot of the issues are very similar. There's just, this is a bigger institution, so scale is probably the difference. But for me, it's probably tactically or pragmatically just understanding how you work in office. That's not as exciting as it comes, but it also helps you think about what your true priorities are going to need to be. And I've kind of alluded to some of that. It's going to be the legislature, donors are going to be critical, understanding finances. Those are all things you learn as a president where you really need to spend your time. And then, frankly, and I speak for my wife too here, probably the one thing we absolutely have learned that we love is just engaging students. Being on campus, we go to the dining halls. We have dogs, that we walk on campus and things, but those are the best ways to engage students, to really get a sense of how they're doing. And so I would envision that being a top priority too.
Rachel Kramer with Iowa Public Radio. During the public forum, you mentioned the importance of liberal arts and sciences for creating students who are critical thinkers and able to communicate. How do you have examples or ideas for funding the liberal arts and sciences at Iowa State?
Well, I'll just reiterate what I talked about there. I think the world is changing very quickly. I talked a lot about AI. I mean, in every walk of life, you're seeing how technology is driving change, and it's changing it every day and every week. And we have to be preparing students who can understand and use those critical thinking skills that we're not sure what tomorrow might bring in so many ways, but making sure that they're ready, that they're prepared, is a critical role that an institution like Iowa State's going to play. And so as we try to integrate AI more into the curriculum, how we teach, back office things, research, and all the rest, we're going to need to have students highly engaged. And so making sure that you talk in terms of funding, we absolutely need students from the liberal arts, from the social sciences, from the humanities involved in the grant work we do. We need them involved as if they're graduate students, helping teach those critical courses that are going to be ever more integrated into the first, second year experiences across the way. So I think it's going to be absolutely critical that we hold on tightly and really emphasize that mission.
Time for one more question.
I can ask one. I just was wondering, I know you were just named president-elect, but I'm wondering if you've already had any connections with any lawmakers or the governor, or has anybody reached out yet, or as a finalist?
Yeah, this just happened, so
Right.
I have not, but I know it's coming. So
Okay.
no, I have not had any, that is a really important, critical part of the job, but I think that's probably what's coming next, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you bet.
Well, thank you all very much.
Okay.